Hello, hello, hello. This is Rich Kale here on YouTube, Richard of the Classic Gamers Guild on Facebook, and RichGenX elsewhere. And it's time to return to Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. Now, I will not lie. I worked for a while to try and get past this puzzle. And this part of this puzzle is very trying. And it literally involves drawing an ellipse on the line here. But it's very tricky to do. No, that ain't it. And this is because I think it has something to do with the graphics or something. You have to draw the circle wide. Or the ellipse wide. And once we get it right, it's going to trigger Sherlock to say something. So all we have to do is just keep it up here. I actually took a picture of it or a screenshot of it. But I'm not going to pull that out right now. It's a tricky thing, that's the problem. Okay, too many. I mean, I was doing this for a better part of an hour trying to get the right ellipse.
There we are.
There we are.
Our killer lives in this area.
Very good.
It's still rather a vast area, Holmes.
Yes, indeed. And our goal is to reduce this area as much as we can. We must consider the fact that the murder at Mitre Square was committed under a certain amount of pressure, given that the killer knew he was wanted for the acts he committed not long before. We can assume that he had to do it in a safe zone, that is, an area not far from where he lives. This is especially true of an act such as the graffiti he carried out after 2 murders. Let's trace a circle around this point, with the distance separating it from Mitre Square as the radius. This will enable us to determine our killer's safe zone.
Okay. So now, we must draw the circle to include.
Our killer must surely live inside this circle. Now, let's intersect it with the ellipsis that we previously determined.
There you go.
There we are, Watson, the Aldgate district.
Shouldn't we inform the police so that they can concentrate their efforts on this area of Whitechapel?
It is probably already crawling with inspectors, Watson, and I doubt that they would take us seriously, even if they were willing to listen to what we had to say. Let's focus instead on understanding the killer's modus operandi. We know our murderer preys on prostitutes who are penniless, weak, sick, or alcoholic, that he distracts them the moment before killing them, and that he left an anonymous message inciting anti-Semitic hatred at the entrance of a building occupied by Jews. How would you describe this man?
What a coward.
Indeed, he is a person of great cowardice. Let's look at his murders, and in particular, the depredations on the corpses, putting aside that of Liz Stride, because on that occasion his work was left unfinished. If we recall the observations made on the victims and the parts that were mutilated or damaged on each of the bodies, without forgetting the fact that he also removed 1 or more organs, we can ascertain that our killer evolves during the course of the murders, cowardly and still evolving. And yet, look at the location of our first murder, that of Polly Nichols in Bucks Row. It is the most distant from the area our killer would appear to live. Perhaps this murder was preceded by another within the killer's area. I believe the killer commits his first murder in an area close to his home in order to find refuge as quickly as possible while carrying out the act.
Holmes, an idea just occurred to me that fills me with dread. This evolution of you speak.
He will pursue his next victim as long as the conditions permit him to continue killing Watson.
But how could one go even further in this horror? Look at what he did to that woman, Catherine Eddowes.
To avoid having to answer the question, we must act hastily planning. Watson, I suggest you inform yourself of mutilation sustained by victims. We play with the idea this could be an act of vengeance against prostitutes. If the mutilations correspond to areas affected by specific pathology, perhaps the killer wanted to give an eye for eye for the affliction he felt prostitutes you were responsible for.
And this trail leading to Dr. Tumblety Holmes.
I also have a few things to speak into the meantime. I still have a private witness to track down. Not to mention old trails I've yet to pursue. See you soon, Watson. When we first spoke about the murder once, he was reading a newspaper, The Star, dated September 1888, I believe, which mentions the murders in the preceding months. I have no chance of finding police reports, but perhaps I can find information at Central News Agency, and I must go there at once. Afterwards, I'll go back to see Abraham owner head shop in Whitechapel. The second statement would lead me to believe that the man spotted on Church House that night. If that's the case, I must find this witness so I can question him.
Okay. Alrighty then. What our murderer looks like. So we need to go to the Central News Agency on Fleet Street. Okay.
Ah, Bulling is there. It won't hurt just this once.
Okay. Alright, hello, Bulling.
Hello, Mr. Bulling. So, did your colleague tell you about the tip?
What tip?
Ah, I see. I gave him an explosive tip and he went without you? Oh, that's not very sporting on his part. No doubt he took all of the credit for his discovery.
You're winding me up, eh?
I must show Bulling something to make him believe me.
There we go. Show him.
What do you want?
Simple.
I'm not winding you up. The proof is that he gave me this advance on the debt.
That traitor! He owes me if I find him.
Before I leave, can you do me a favor?
Heck, tell me.
I'm looking for some reliable info on the murders committed in Whitechapel in the months before Polly Nichols' attack.
Reliable? Ha! You really think you'll find that here? Fine. I'll be honest with you. We have folders that group the dispatches from the current year into categories. In the police law category, you'll find the transcripts from the trials and investigations that we sell to the newspapers that ask us.
Ah.
Perfect.
Sadly, I am out of time. I'll leave you to solve it, eh? You're the detective, aren't you?
Oh. Oh, he's a rat bastard. Alright. So we go over to the dispatch cabinet. Okay. Uh-oh. Nothing's labeled.
The dossiers are full of papers in dated envelopes. I can't open them. That would be too obvious. How can I tell which compartment to look in? No categories are indicated.
Okay. Look around the room for ways that there are clues. Any clues? Any clues? Clue. Wait, what's this? A letter for Ferdinand. Okay, let's see if it's about nothing. Oh, yesterday I randomly placed a few inventions and science with politics dispatches. After all, they're always harebrained items. Given that the compartments are one on top of the other, it could have easily passed as one of the new lad's errors. Ah, well that's handy. What's this? To improve dispatch filing, Ruspro major info up high, except news and brief. Minor info down low, except police and law. Thus, in future, propose also to invest news in brief, which is for the moment up high, and police law, which is actually down low. Furthermore, the weather section is almost always empty. Put it with news in brief. Okay, well that was handy. Is there anything else here? Oh, my dear George, yada yada yada. So next I have to start to this is the most tedious, boring work. Once the work's done. Oh. Politics of society are on the side, sports is underneath economy, personalities is at the end of the row, front page news is the first compartment, etc. So, thanks. Okay. Well, there's some helpful info in there. Oh, what's this? The filing system that you made appears to be too small, particularly for the world and society sections, which covers too much area and overflows into the boxes below, police and law, and culture, respectively. Okay. Interesting. Alright, and is there anything else? Oh, there's another note there. What's this? Blue envelopes from the dispatch compartment contain content that must not be discussed in the news. As a reminder, they contain the political personalities, essentially the royal family, and economic issues. This dispatch will be retained only to be diffused when Buckingham Palace or the ministers give the authority. Okay. Well, I found all those notes. Alright. So, based on the news and brief, upper right, I think. Okay.
This compartment was repaired recently.
Alright. Have to double check that. Is there something else here? Ah, yep. Alright. Weather. That note said something about weather. Been left in brief.
An envelope is torn. I can tell that this dispatch contains economic information.
Ah! So, economy goes there. Alright. So this would be society. And this would be politics then. Sports below economy. Base. Okay, let's see. This has blue envelopes. Personalities. Oh, which would be right here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very full. Left the world. Okay. Hmm?
These envelopes contain dispatches of police and judicial cases. Now, I need to open them discreetly. I must try to unglue the openings.
Ah, well. There's only one way to do that. Steam.
Water.
Yes. Water. Water. Ah, yes. Yes. Okay. No.
I need something.
Yeah.
There, that will provide me with steam. These envelopes contain dispatches of police and judicial cases. Open, and it looks like I'm in luck. This envelope contains precious information.
Hallelujah! Ah. Mr. Win E. Baxter of the East Middlesex Corner held an inquiry on Saturday respecting the death of Emma Elizabeth Smith, age 45, widow lately living at 18 George Street, who, it was alleged, had been murdered. Mr. Mary Russell, deputies. Okay. Mr. George Haslip. She was admitted to the hospital, but was not intoxicated. She was bleeding from the head and ear and had other injuries of a revolting nature. She was suffering from a rupture of the peritoneum, which had been perforated by some blunt instrument used with great force. The deceased told him that at 1 that morning she was passing near Whitechapel Church when she noticed some men coming towards her. She crossed the road to avoid them, but they followed, assaulted her, took all the money she had, and then committed the outrage. Oh boy. God. Same address of the sea. Oh my goodness. Alright. And not any clues. Oh boy. And oh, here's another one. Tabram case. Okay, yada yada yada. Let's go. Cab driver. Oh boy.
The information excludes the murder of the first woman, Miss Smith. Jack the Ripper can't be the author of that crime. On the other hand, there are enough similarities to suggest he may be the killer of Martha Tabram. I must go to the pet shop.
You're right. We can leave.
I must go to the pet shop.
Yes. Alright. So we have to go to Whitechapel and the pet shop. Okay.
I must go to the pet shop.
Yes, and here we are.
Closed until further notice. Abraham isn't there. No luck.
Beep beep.
Ah!
Good evening.
Oh, good evening, sir.
Do you know why Mr. Solomonich's shop is closed?
Yes.
No, I don't. Perhaps his cousin, the cobbler, knows. but I believe the police came to take his animals. I think that might have something to do with it.
When was this?
During the day. The kids you were with the other day were there, they told me. They just came by to ask for some cat's meat. They didn't have any money, but I gave them some anyway.
Something wrong?
Is something wrong?
It's just that there was a little girl with them, the same age as mine. My little girl who went away with her mother, with the angels into the sky.
Dr. Watson told me about your loss. Please accept my condolences. Would you like to talk about it? How did it happen?
The illness, sir. My poor little girl was in agony, and her face and body were ravaged by the disease.
Her face?
Yes, she looked like a ghost.
What illness was it?
Yeah.
Dr. Gibbons tried to explain when I took my little girl to see him, but I didn't understand. I'm sure that he was trying to insinuate it was my fault. I'm sorry, but I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I understand. Farewell. Let's go and see Dr. Gibbons.
Yeah. Because the sickness. Which is something everybody's suffered from in this area. Ah.
Hello, Doctor. Do you remember me? I'm Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson's friend.
Yep.
Oh, yes. Excuse the mess, but I am doing a bit of tidying.
Ah, there's a mess.
I have come to see you about a Mr. Hardyman, a cat food seller by trade who recently lost his daughter and wife.
Yes, I know him. A tragic story.
Actually, I was hoping you could tell me about the disease that took his daughter, a disease that would have attacked her face.
Well, to keep it short, we are speaking of syphilis, Mr. Holmes. You must certainly know that it is transmitted through intimate connections, and that the vast prostitute population here contributes to its inevitable progression. It destroys individuals by spreading through the body slowly. The most obvious symptoms can be found in the genitalia and on the face in the form of pustules or lesions. Sometimes this illness can destroy whole families. The father catches it from a prostitute, he transmits it to his wife, who in her turn passes it to the kids which she bears or nurses. These cases are numerous in the vicinity. Certain children, and this is the case of the little girl whom I won't name, suffer from an emaciation of the face which will, apart from predicting an imminent death, bring infamy upon the family.
Emaciation.
of the face?
Yes, what we sometimes call the pox. I will give you a photograph. One cannot be mistaken on the origin of such a face. The eyes seem to be void of lids. The nose is inexistent, as if it was cut off. And the cheeks are chiselled, as if cut with a knife. This loss of facial matter, this emaciation, is, in this area, often the gift from a father to his children.
Oh
Can I
my.
keep this photograph?
I should destroy it. But if it can remind you that one must sometimes think twice before giving in to physical attraction...
I always seem to find myself alone in such cases. Thank you, Doctor.
Indeed. You know what? This makes sense with how some of the bodies looked. Alright.
Let's go to the cobbler's.
Yes, we shall go to the cobbler. And that means going here. Oh, it's a nice day out. Looks a little foggy. A little, Ah, there he is. Hello, Jacob.
Hello, Mr. Solomonovich.
Ah, Mr. Holmes, how are things with you?
I heard your cousin Abraham had a problem with his shop. What happened?
Ah, if I didn't know you well, I would tell you that it's Jewish business that doesn't concern anyone but the Jews. But as you have a little bit to do with it, you have the right to know what is going on.
Would I have something to do with it?
Someone had seen Abraham telling you something and making big gestures near the Imperial Club. A vicious rumor quickly spread, and it has caused him great injustice. A slanderous denunciation attracted the authorities' attention to my cousin's shop. Abraham must be in the process of answering their questions.
I did, indeed, speak with your cousin the other night. I'm shocked at the consequences of this discussion.
As I was saying, it's the story of the Jews. In the face of adversity, we are united, but amongst ourselves, it's like anywhere else. As soon as our people take a dislike to someone, for right or wrong, we can be without pity and quite cruel.
This is all very worrying. Your cousin knows one, or rather two, of the men who were at the Imperial Club on the night of the Mitre Square murder. One of the two, a butcher in Aldgate named Joseph, is probably withholding information of the utmost importance. I must find this man. Perhaps you can help me.
But there are dozens of Jewish butchers around Aldgate, half of which must be called Joseph.
Oh boy.
And you know, Mr. Holmes, we Jews prefer to remain in the background of this murderer business, this Jack the Ripper thing. All of London is pointing their fingers at us, saying, "It's a Jew who disemboweled these women." Our community is in great peril, you know. There was the business with Lipsky and Leather Apron.
Yeah.
I will see what I can do, but I don't promise anything.
I'd be extremely grateful to you. Very well. We may meet again, Mr. Solomonovich.
You are most welcome, Mr. Holmes.
Okay.
I've paced up and down Whitechapel enough. I should return to Baker Street in order to reflect on the new facts that I have discovered.
Indeed. So let's, where's our map? Map? Ah, there we go. Back to Baker Street. Oh, good.
Hello, Holmes.
Ah, Watson.
Good day, Watson.
Listen, Holmes, I know I should have got here sooner to give you a report on my research, but this case has led me to neglect my patients and my wife more than I care to admit. I've been able to sort things out over the last few days, and now I am ready to pursue this investigation.
You don't have to justify yourself, Watson. Whilst I do tolerate you as an observer, and despite your occasional help with more menial tasks, may I remind you that you are by no means an indispensable part of this case.
Oh, you tolerate me as an observer, do you? Oh, you're too much, Holmes. Well, Mr. Detective, despite my absence, I have been working on this case, putting my relationship on the line in the process. And I happen to have a confidential letter that only passed from one lord's hand to another. What it contains is extremely serious and concerns Dr. Tumblety and his collection of uteri.
Let me see that.
My lord, be hereby assured of my entire collaboration regarding this affair, to which I must reply. No one will be able to cast I am in colleagues to policies, and they won't cooperate with the police as long as the higher interests that we serve aren't menaced. As you mentioned, we have avoided. Oh boy, that you mentioned in your letter. When I met with my colleagues, it turns out to have grounds, and these are the specifics that I was able to. 18 months. American doctor in London did in fact contact certain hospitals. His approach was aimed at getting stock of feminine genitalia, particularly uteri. Oh, yeah. This is definitely not good. And it concerns Dr. Tumblety. Okay.
Excellent. This American turned out to be a regular use.
That's right. And that's all. I did some research and finally found an illness that affects the genitalia and can, in certain cases, cause facial symptoms resembling the mutilation seen on the last victim. It is called, would you believe?
Syphilis.
Syphilis and the emaciation of the afflicted children. I have known that for days once.
Really?
Listen, now you're already here, Watson. We may as well continue the investigation. Do you remember the map which we established the area in which our killer lives? I think we should continue our study.
Indeed.
We must place the murder of Martha Brown and George Yard on the map.
Okay.
Well, I discovered the case of the murder before Bucks Road. It happened in George Yard, which we put on the map in order to see if it corresponds to our area of research. We must place the murder of Martha Brown and George Yard on the map.
There's George Yard.
That is where Martha's murder took place. There's no point going there, and we already have all the information we need on that matter.
Indeed.
You see, this murder took place in the area in which our killer lives, his safe zone. Nonetheless, there are two major differences between the murder of this Martha Tabram and that of Polly Nichols. Firstly, the blows inflicted are not the same.
Yes.
And the second difference?
It follows on from a doctor's opinion. He claims 2 weapons might have been used, and if there is one group of people we absolutely must not trust in this business, it's doctors. Don't you agree, Watson?
Watch it, Holmes.
Tabram's murder took place in an area where the murderer, whose cowardice is clear, was able to make a quick getaway, that is to say, near his home. For his second murder, he would have wanted to go further afield, so the police would not link these 2 cases. And as for the other murders, seeing the ineffectiveness of his last one, he headed in different directions to kill his victims while still staying in the vicinity and without going any further than necessary, and all the while planning his escape. My dear Watson, we now know what this man looks like, in what area he lives, and that he suffered directly or indirectly from syphilis. Let's not forget the anatomical knowledge he must almost certainly possess. Given his lower-class background, a butcher seems very likely. However, it may be the case that the man was a butcher once, but is no longer. He might also have been a medical assistant. Who knows? That's why we need the testimonies of the other Joseph and Dr. Tumblety in order to be certain.
What shall we do, Holmes?
As the police's cooperation is futile and can be ruled out, we have nothing to do but wait. Watson, wait, and hope we see one of these 2 men before the killer strikes again.
Indeed.
At last, a long day's work done. How are you doing, Holmes?
Fine, Watson, just fine.
I suppose you still haven't heard any news from Whitechapel?
No, Watson.
It's been almost a month now. Who knows? Our killer may have brought justice upon himself, overcome by remorse and ignominy for his actions.
Not a chance, Watson.
You haven't done anything about the story of a kidney that was sent in the post and reported by the papers. Why not?
The killer left a message on one occasion with the intention of harming. The letter accompanying this package served no purpose other than to give value to its recipient and arouse disgust against its sender. The killer has never done anything for nothing. In order to authenticate the Galston Street message, he left an indisputable piece of evidence. Can we really say as much about this kidney?
Indeed.
I don't know. All I know is that there are letters piling up on your desk. Isn't it time to move on to another case?
Absolutely not, Watson. I think that the other Joseph is reluctant to meet me. The man he saw must certainly have put the fear of God in him, a man well known for his violence and his hatred towards Jews. There can't be any shortage of those in Whitechapel.
Yeah.
I have hope yet. As for Dr. Tumblety...
We found him, Mr. Holmes. We found him.
Who's that?
Dr. Bumblebee. He's been locked up by the bobbies, but they've let him loose. He was looking round like a rat who's scared of his own shadow. He's gonna do a run at years.
Watson, this is our chance. The game is afoot. Let's hope that Tumblety will go to collect his trunk. As for you, my little friends, thank you for lifting this burden that has been on my shoulders for almost a month.
Hallelujah. And we are going to save it here, because we've been doing this for about a half hour now. As always, this is Rich Kale here on YouTube, Richard of the Classic Gamers Guild on Facebook, Rich Gen X elsewhere. Inviting you to subscribe to the channel, especially if you love these mysteries. I've got a few other games that have a mystery base to them up, as well as some other classics by such companies as Sierra and Lucasfilm/LucasArts. And next time round, I think we will be meeting the famous or infamous Dr. Tumblety. And who knows, we may get closer to the end of this game. And to the end of this case. Until next time, take care, and have fun all. Bye-bye!